Did you know the Corvette C8 family now stretches from a naturally aspirated Stingray with 490 horsepower to the electrified ZR1X with a Chevrolet estimated 1,250 combined horsepower? That means the same basic Corvette generation can compete with everyday sports cars, Italian exotics, track-focused machines, and modern hypercars. Apparently, Chevrolet looked at the traditional idea of a Corvette and decided that merely frightening European manufacturers was no longer ambitious enough. Today on VHCar, we are counting down 5 pieces of engineering that transformed the Chevrolet Corvette C8 into what many people call a supercar killer. This is not simply a list of horsepower figures or a review where someone presses every dashboard button and announces that the seats are comfortable. We are looking at the physical components and systems that allowed an American sports car to enter territory once controlled almost exclusively by brands such as Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, and Porsche. Before we start, tell us in the comments, would you choose a Corvette C8 Stingray, an E-Ray, a Z06, a ZR1, or the extreme ZR1X? And if you believe the Corvette is not a real supercar, explain what it is missing. Just be prepared, because Corvette owners have been waiting approximately 70 years for that argument. Number 5 is the mid-engine chassis, the change that completely redefined the Corvette. For its first 7 generations, the production Corvette followed the traditional front-engine formula. The engine sat ahead of the driver, power went to the rear wheels, and the long hood became part of the car's visual identity. With the C8, Chevrolet moved the engine behind the seats and initiated what the company described as the Corvette's mid-engine revolution. Moving the engine was not simply a styling decision. Placing the powertrain closer to the center of the vehicle improves weight distribution and gives the rear tires greater traction during acceleration. It also allows the driver to sit farther forward, changing visibility, steering response, and the sensation of controlling the car. Instead of looking over a long hood and feeling the engine pull from the front, the driver sits close to the front axle with the V8 directly behind the cabin. This layout is one of the main reasons the C8 can launch so aggressively. The rear tires carry more weight, allowing them to transfer more engine power to the pavement instead of converting horsepower into tire smoke and an awkward conversation with the person standing beside the road. Chevrolet's original mid-engine Stingray combined this layout with an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, allowing properly equipped versions to reach 60 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. The chassis also gave Chevrolet room to expand the Corvette family in ways that would have been far more difficult with the older front-engine platform. The wider Z06 could use more aggressive suspension tuning, larger tires, and enhanced aerodynamics. The E-Ray could place an electric motor at the front axle while keeping the gasoline V8 at the rear. The ZR1 could add twin turbochargers to the mid-mounted V8, and the ZR1X could combine that engine with an electrified front axle. In other words, the mid-engine structure did not create only one fast Corvette. It created the foundation for an entire performance ecosystem. Number 4 is the LT2 6.2-liter V8. The engine that proves advanced performance does not always require an exotic design. The Stingray's LT2 uses a traditional Chevrolet small block architecture with an overhead valve design, 2 valves per cylinder, direct injection, variable valve timing, cylinder deactivation, an aluminum block, and a dry sump lubrication system. That may sound relatively simple beside a high-revving European engine with 4 camshafts and enough internal components to fill a hardware store, but simplicity can be extremely effective. For the 2026 Corvette Stingray, Chevrolet rated the LT2 at 490 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, with output increasing when equipped with the available performance exhaust. The engine delivers strong torque across ordinary road speeds, meaning the driver does not need to chase the highest part of the rev range every time serious acceleration is required. That accessibility is a major part of the C8's appeal. The Stingray does not need a complicated launch ceremony to feel fast. Press the accelerator and the naturally aspirated V8 responds immediately. There are no turbochargers waiting to build boost, and no electric motors required to fill a gap in the power delivery. The engine gives the C8 a mechanical personality that feels familiar to longtime Corvette owners, while the location behind the cabin makes the experience feel completely new. The LT2 also helps explain why the Corvette can offer supercar performance without automatically reaching traditional supercar pricing. Chevrolet did not develop an entirely exotic engine for the base model. It adapted decades of small block knowledge to a mid-engine application. The dry sump system helps maintain oil supply during high-performance driving, while the compact pushrod architecture allows the engine to remain physically smaller than some overhead camshaft alternatives. Of course, simpler than a Ferrari engine does not mean maintain it like a lawnmower. Correct oil, service intervals, cooling system health, transmission servicing, and proper inspection still matter. A Corvette C8 is more accessible than many exotics, but neglect remains impressively democratic. It can damage an affordable car and an expensive car with equal enthusiasm. Number 3 is the 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. For the first time in Corvette history, the C8 Stingray launched without a traditional manual transmission. Every standard C8 uses an 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, developed to provide extremely rapid shifts while remaining usable in everyday traffic. One clutch controls one set of gears, while the second prepares the next ratio, allowing the transmission to change gears with minimal interruption in power. Chevrolet identifies the unit as the M1L 8-speed DCT in the Stingray's technical information. This transmission is a critical part of the Corvette's performance. A powerful engine is only useful if the car can deliver that power efficiently. The dual-clutch gearbox changes gears faster and more consistently than most drivers could manage with a conventional manual, especially during maximum acceleration. It also helps the Corvette launch cleanly, keeping the engine in the strongest part of its power range while the mid-engine layout provides traction. On an open road or closed circuit, the driver can use the steering wheel paddles to control the shifts. In traffic, the transmission can operate automatically, making the Corvette surprisingly manageable during normal American driving. You can crawl through Los Angeles traffic in the same car capable of producing acceleration figures associated with far more expensive machinery. Whether that experience is enjoyable is another matter. No transmission has yet been invented that can make Los Angeles traffic emotionally rewarding. The absence of a manual transmission remains controversial. Some enthusiasts argue that a true sports car should offer 3 pedals because involvement matters more than acceleration figures. Others point out that modern supercars have largely adopted dual-clutch or automated transmissions because they are faster, more consistent, and better integrated with electronic performance systems. Both sides have a point. A manual would likely make the C8 more emotionally engaging for certain drivers, but the dual-clutch transmission is part of what makes the car such an effective supercar competitor. It allows ordinary owners to access extraordinary performance without needing professional-level shifting skills. These first 3 components explain the foundation of the Corvette C8: a mid-engine chassis, a compact and powerful naturally aspirated V8, and a rapid dual-clutch transmission. But the final 2 pieces are where the C8 becomes much more than a fast Stingray. We still need to examine the suspension and differential technology that allows the Corvette to remain comfortable on public roads while controlling serious performance, and the extraordinary engine and electrification systems used by the Z06, E-Ray, ZR1, and ZR1X. Because the strongest argument for calling the C8 a supercar killer is not that one version can challenge an exotic car. It is that Chevrolet built an entire family capable of attacking almost every level of the modern supercar market. Number 2 is the suspension, differential, and chassis control technology that allows the Corvette C8 to behave like a comfortable road car one moment and a serious performance machine the next. Available magnetic selective ride control uses magnetically responsive fluid inside the dampers, allowing the system to change suspension behavior in milliseconds. Chevrolet says the technology can adapt in roughly 10 to 15 milliseconds, helping the car remain controlled without forcing the driver to tolerate an unbearably harsh ride every time the road develops a pothole. That flexibility is essential because the C8 must handle several very different jobs. Owners may drive it through city traffic, take it across multiple states, or use it on a closed circuit. A traditional fixed suspension would require a compromise between comfort and body control. Magnetic ride control constantly adjusts damping, giving the Corvette a much wider range of ability. Performance-oriented versions add more aggressive calibration, larger tires, stronger brakes, and sophisticated traction management. An electronic limited slip differential helps distribute power between the rear wheels, improving traction when accelerating out of a corner. Instead of allowing one tire to waste power by spinning, the system helps send torque where it can be used more effectively. This technology is one reason the C8 feels less intimidating than its performance figures suggest. The car still demands respect, but it gives the driver an extraordinary amount of support. It is almost like Chevrolet installed a team of invisible engineers beneath the vehicle to correct your decisions before you become the subject of a very embarrassing social media video. And number one is the expanding family of specialized C8 powertrains. The Stingray established the platform, but Chevrolet used that foundation to create versions aimed at completely different levels of performance. The Z06 introduced the naturally aspirated 5.5-liter LT2 V8. Its flat plane crankshaft allows the engine to rev to 8,600 RPM and produce 670 horsepower. Chevrolet describes it as the most powerful naturally aspirated production V8, giving the Z06 an engine character closer to an Italian exotic than a traditional American muscle car. The E-Ray combines the Stingray's 6.2-liter V8 with an electric motor driving the front axle. The result is 655 combined horsepower, electrified all-wheel drive, and a Chevrolet estimated 0 to 60 mm time of 2.5 seconds. The electric motor is not there primarily to save fuel. It improves acceleration, traction, and all-weather capability. Apparently, Chevrolet looked at hybrid technology and decided the most responsible use of electricity was making a Corvette leave the starting line even faster. Then came the ZR1, using a twin-turbocharged 5.5-liter LT7 V8, producing 1,064 horsepower. The ZR1X takes that engine and adds a front electric motor, creating electrified all-wheel drive and 250 combined horsepower. Chevrolet officially describes the ZR1X as an American hypercar, and the company has recorded sub-2-second 0 to 60 performance and quarter-mile runs below 8.8 seconds during testing. So, is the Chevrolet Corvette C8 truly a supercar killer? The answer depends on how you define a supercar. If the definition requires an Italian badge, a limited production number, and a dealership where the coffee appears to have its own financial advisor, perhaps the Corvette will never qualify for everyone. But if a supercar is defined by its layout, acceleration, braking, engineering, appearance, and ability to compete with machines costing dramatically more, the C8 has a very strong argument. Its 5 defining pieces, the mid-engine chassis, LT2 V8, dual-clutch transmission, adaptive chassis technology, and expanding range of high-performance powertrains, allow it to challenge nearly every level of the exotic car market. The C8 is not perfect. It has no manual transmission. Some interior design choices divide opinion, and higher performance versions are no longer inexpensive. But it delivers performance that once required entering an entirely different financial universe. Now tell us in the comments, which C8 would you choose? The Stingray, E-Ray, Z06, ZR1, or ZR1X? Subscribe to VHCar for more automotive countdowns, engineering breakdowns, ownership stories, and honest comparisons between the cars people admire and the machines that are actually worth buying.